What's up, y'all? It's Ty. In this video today, we're going to be going over and ranking our top wide receivers right now in college football ultimate team. Every wide receiver that is an 86 overall or higher is going to be featured on this list. Now, if you have an 85 or lower wide receiver, it doesn't mean that they're necessarily unplayable or bad. There are some decent 85s in the game. Let's say like a Mike Evans. But I just think at this stage, like 86 or higher should be your goal. I mean, we're at the stage of college football ultimate team where, I mean, look, there's so many different good options. There's so many good players in the game. You should be able to at least work your way up to 86 overalls because a lot of these cards are really cheap. Now, we're going to go one by one. Let's start off with A.J. Brown. As we do dive into A.J. Brown, if you're new to the channel, please smash that subscribe button, guys. Really do appreciate your support. A.J. Brown, to me, he was one of my favorite wide receivers when he came out. I picked him up, and he was actually really good when I used him. It's just he's an LTD at this stage. He's going to cost you 250,000 coins now, and that's the big problem that I see with A.J. Brown. Again, if you want to run the card, I mean, do what you guys have to do. I just think there are personally some better options for you guys than A.J. Brown at this specific stage. 90 overall Reggie Wayne is one of those options. He's going to go at A tier, one of your better wide receivers in the game. And if you do look at 90 overalls or higher, we don't have that many of them yet in the game. Now, the wide receiver position is stacked. I'm not saying it's bad, but 90 overall or higher is really rare. And Reggie Wayne is an absolute beast. He is undersized. I think he's only, 6 feet tall, but he is really solid. 90 overall speed, good route runner, just does a lot of things at an insanely high level. Luther Burden up next. This one's tough. At this stage, though, I think Luther Burden's B tier. I don't think he's A tier anymore. And that's painful kind of to say because Luther Burden ran the game for the first month of the game or so. But it's just like at this stage, we've got better cards than Luther Burden. And I'm not hating on Burden. I like Burden. I've used the card quite a bit. But when you're looking at Burden and comparing him to Reggie Wayne is just simply the better option. And so hopefully you guys understand why Luther Burden is B tier. I'm not saying he's bad. We just, at this stage, do have some better options in the game. Chad Johnson, I think, is D tier. Borderline F tier. Like, he might be the worst card on this list. And I don't even hate Chad Johnson. I used to run the card, to be honest with you. It just comes down to the fact that, again, the game has evolved from... when did the game even come out? June or July? I don't even know when the game came out. June, I think, to where we're at now. Chad Johnson is a card that, for a time in Season 1, could play at this stage. I want to recommend using him. Darius Clemens, C tier probably. Nah, here's what I want to do. I'm going to move Chad Johnson down. And just because I move Chad Johnson down doesn't mean you absolutely can't use the card. Again, these are your best wide receivers in the game. Somebody's got to be at F tier, and I think it's Chad Johnson. Clemens, I'll go D tier. I think he is better. This 89 overall Amari Cooper. I think he's better than Luther Burden. I think he's worse than Reggie Wayne. So it's kind of that balancing act. Where does he specifically lie? I think B tier probably is the right spot for the card. I actually got a free Amari Cooper. Shout out to the College Football Ultimate Team stream for that. And he's been really good for me. I don't even feel like I needed to replace him. Now I have because I've got some free cards from the level, basically the level 50 grind. And so Amari Cooper isn't one of my top receivers anymore, but he still does play, and he still is really good. 87 Amari Cooper, I'll go C tier. 86 Amari Cooper, I'll go D tier. 86 Amari Cooper still is good. Is he better than Chad Johnson, though? That's a question I think I need answered, because Chad Johnson does have that 85 speed. Now, when we look at the 87 overall Amari Cooper, I don't think he's bad. 86 overall Amari Cooper, he does have that 86 speed as well. So, yeah, I think, it is valid that they are, where they're at. I do think Amari Cooper is better than Chad Johnson, in my personal opinion. Crabtree up next. I think he's better than Chad Johnson, too. Crabtree has some of the best animations in the game. Good spin move, great juke move. That's why Crabtree is going to be at his best in that D tier. Desmond Howard, I'm going to go B tier probably. I still think him and Luther Burden are like neck and neck who's better. I just hate how Luther Burden drops open passes. It drives me absolutely bonkers, absolutely nuts. That's why I'm putting Desmond Howard at B tier, the exact same tier. Deshaun Jackson, S tier. I don't know at the time I'm recording this how many cards I'm going to put into S tier, but Deshaun Jackson definitely is deserving. If you get Deshaun Jackson, you need to donate to me. Okay, just kidding. But you got a lot of money. You're loaded if you get this Deshaun Jackson because you're locking in probably, again, I don't know how expensive the last couple of cards are going to be, but you're locking in a lot of coins. And so, yes, D-Jack is going to be the best receiver in the game. He's going to be pretty dominant, but there are receivers that can compete at a relatively similar level. And we'll hop into that as we continue going on. Devonta Smith, this stage, is he C tier? Is he D tier? I'll go C tier with the card. Although, I don't know. I mean, 87 speed, I don't know. I'm going to go C tier. I actually got a BND version of Devonta Smith, but my squad has gotten to be just too good that Smith doesn't even at this stage play for me anymore. So, again, it's just one of those things. Does he play for you or not? Really all is personal preference to what your squad looks like. Smith's fine. I think C tier is the right spot. Garrett Wilson, C tier as well. There was a time where Garrett Wilson was ridiculously expensive in this game for an extended period. Like, we didn't get wide receivers for an extended period, so Garrett Wilson was upwards of like 200,000 coins for quite some time. Obviously, at this stage, have seen his price really fall. Herman Moore, A tier. I just don't know if I like him at A tier and Cooper not. It's just a tough situation. Is this what I want to do? It's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put Herman Moore at A tier. I'm going to put Amari Cooper at A tier. I think both of those guys are better than Luther Burden and Desmond Howard. I genuinely do. Now, again, a lot of people might disagree with me on those, and that's okay. It's what makes doing these videos fun, but I'm putting Herman Moore, Amari Cooper, both at A tier. Jimmy Orr Jr., you're a B tier wide receiver. A good wide receiver that I think every budget guy should be getting. But at this stage, he is B tier. 91 overall, Jonathan Jefferson. Is he S tier? Is he A tier? I'm going to go A tier, and I want to explain why. He's got really good acceleration, really good catch, really good route runner, but he only has that 89 speed, and that is by far and away the most important stat on the game. The difference between Deshaun Jackson's speed and Jonathan Jefferson's speed, same difference between Jonathan Jefferson's speed and Michael Crabtree's speed. So just kind of let that sink into you guys on why Jonathan Jefferson is at A tier. Also, guys, I do want to mention this right now because I did forget, okay? I did forget to include some of these cards. But like the Jonathan Jefferson free card that you can obviously upgrade, he would probably be, honestly, I probably A tier, maybe B tier. The Jamar Chase, same thing. A tier, probably B tier. So I did forget the free cards. I know a lot of you guys did probably grind house rules for them. I apologize. They'd probably be both A tier or both B tier. I don't know. Probably B tier, though. Probably B tier. We'll see, though. It's just hard to include them at the same tier as A tier. But it's just hard to separate these types of tiers. It makes things really, really difficult. This Jeremiah Smith, D tier. I mean, I know his speed's okay. I'm just not a big fan of Jeremiah Smith. Like, I've looked at his stats. Obviously, the first Jeremiah Smith we got was an absolute stud. This Jeremiah Smith for this time just isn't that great. Lacey is as good of a wide receiver as anybody else. I do not care. I know Jonathan Jefferson's an LTD. I know Jonathan Jefferson is so hyped up. Lacey, because of his spin and juke move, because of it just how I've used the card, he is A tier. If you have not gotten Colin Lacey and for some reason aren't grinding for him, why? The card's free. He's going to be one of your best wide receivers in the game for quite some time. Why are you not going to get Colin Lacey? Just answer that question, please, for me, and we can keep talking. Megwood, another absolute beast, A tier. The thing for Megwood is if you do get that homecoming boost, the acceleration goes up, makes the card even better. Megwood is an absolute beast in this game. I've got the, a BND version of the card, and he's going to play forever. Randy Moss at this stage, what is he, C tier probably? I mean, I'm going to go D tier. I mean, he's an LTD. He's way overpriced. And you can say, oh, Ty, prices shouldn't matter for this tier list. Well, guess what? It does. And Randy Moss is not great. Nick Nash at this stage, it's tough. Is he C tier? Probably. He is one of my favorite budget wide receivers in the entire game, though. Does think he provides a lot on the field with that 87 speed. Still think, nonetheless, he is a C tier wide receiver on this game. 86, Reggie Wayne. I'm going to go D tier. 87, I'm going to go C tier. 88, Reggie Wayne. I'll go B tier. Right? Just slowly, slightly leveling up. It makes a lot of sense, similar to what I did with a guy like Amari Cooper. It's just slightly going to get better with each and every card. Obviously, pretty self-explanatory right there. Adunze is really good. I think when Adunze first came out, I really didn't appreciate how good the card truly is. He gets open, has a great spin juke move, just does a lot of things at a really high level. Ryan Williams, 91 speed. He's A tier, though. He's A tier. He doesn't have a good spin, doesn't have a good juke. He is only really a good deep route runner. I'm sorry, but he is A tier. He's not at the level of a Deshaun Jackson. He is right in here with the rest of these guys at A tier. Do I love Ryan Williams? Do I run him? Yes. He burns people on the go routes all the time. But I do think at the end of the day, he still is A tier. Elijah Surratt at this stage, I mean, he's a cool card. but D tier. There's nothing that really stands out about the card. He's a fine card to run, fine card to use, but again, there's nothing that really stands out on the card to make him higher than D tier. Savion Williams, perfect addition to B tier. He's not quite A tier. He is a B tier wide receiver in the game. Is a fine card to pick up though. He's similar to kind of a level of a Jimmy Horn Jr. Both cards are fine to pick up. They're just cards at this stage, and they are B tier wide receivers. Tavon Austin, he is A tier. Just strictly because he's fast. I mean, at this stage, Tavon Austin has gotten less and less high as far as how high I am on the card. Still a solid wide receiver in the game, is deserving of A tier. Tet, A tier, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Tet is still an absolute beast on this game. A tier, A tier, A tier for Tet. This Tet, D tier. He's a fine budget receiver though. This Tet is. If you run like him, Mike Evans, you know, even like the new Jeremiah Smith, you can run a really solid wide receiving core, but I mean, there's just nothing that really stands out about those cards at this stage. Trey Harris, A tier. It's where he's at. He's really, really, really solid. Just another one of these A tier wide receivers that you can use and have a lot of success with. Xavier Townsend, I mean, is B tier the right spot? I don't really know for Xavier Townsend. I feel like, honestly, when I first looked at the card, like, he's fine, but there's just nothing that really made him that next level, right? Good speed, good acceleration, good catching, but he's only 5'11", doesn't have a good spin or juke move. I do still think he's a B tier wide receiver though. Realize though, with that being said, some of these other B tier wide receivers like a Luther Burden is going to be better than Xavier Townsend. Zay Flowers, last but certainly not least, C tier, pretty self-explanatory, is a card that you can use and have a lot of success with. Just for this, at this stage, not going to be as high as he once was. Yes, Deshaun Jackson is the only guy in S tier. I just want to show that gap between Deshaun Jackson and everybody else for people that do want to lock in that legend set to realize that you are getting an absolute beast. Am I locking in the set? Absolutely not. It's way overpriced. And I think A tier wide receivers can give you nearly as much as Deshaun Jackson in college football 25 Ultimate Team. That's going to wrap it up for my wide receiver tier list today. Let me know your thoughts on it down below in the comments. Drop a like on the video, subscribe if you're new, and as always, man, I love you guys. Have a blessed day.